Question 5. Sketch the graph of f of theta equals cos of theta for negative pi on 2 is less than equal to theta, which is less than equal to 4 pi on 3. Anything confusing about this one? Not really. We've kind of seen this kind of stuff before. So just f of theta, cos of theta. We're just using theta instead of x or something. And then theta just needs to be between negative pi on 2 and 4 pi on 3. So in terms of reading the question, there's nothing crazy going on there. The weird thing about this question is going to be dealing with these smaller and kind of different domains. Pi on 2 is not too bad, but the pi on 3 part is going to be a bit weird. So I've just drawn the graph. We're just using we split everything into quarters like we normally would. I've gone all the way up to 2 pi because it's a little bit too confusing to think about 4 pi on 3 and where exactly that should go. It's not like the last question where we can just set the biggest one we need. So the biggest thing we needed was negative 3 pi. So we just put that over there. Pi is easy to split up into different things. But here we're dealing with a 4 pi on 3. And so if we set 4 pi on 3 over here, then we have to figure out how big does that make the pi on 2. So if we just pick something standard, it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to mean that we're like not as efficient with our use of how much page we're using. We're going to have some blank space. That's completely fine. It does not matter. And so I'd rather just have it easy to convert and keep to scale and everything. Okay, so what I would do here, just like with the last one, when we have negatives and positives, I would just start with the positive and then we'll come back and do the negative after. So here, we're going to start graphing it positively. So we're going to start at 0. And what is cos of 0? You might be starting to get used to it right now. You might even get a picture in your head. Be careful picturing it in your head because our brains can get lost sometimes. What I would do is maybe picture in your head and have a think about what you think it is, have a guess, and then draw it to double check. Okay, otherwise you're going to draw this whole thing and then realize you stuffed it up at the start and then you have to go back. So it's worth just, especially while you're still getting used to this, it's worth have a educated guess in your head by maybe thinking about the unit circle, but then just take a second to draw it. And you'll thank me later, probably. Okay, so at 0, cos is the left and right, the adjacent, and so we are left and right 1. So we're going to start up here. Let's put a 1 in. Negative 1 goes there, and cos of 0 is 1. What happens next? We would go up this way. We would get to pi on 2, and the left and right is 0. So at pi on 2, we're at 0. Now, if we keep going, we'll end up at pi. That's our next key point. And what does it equal? Well, if we keep going around here to the angle of pi, how far left and right have we gone? Negative 1. So cos of pi is negative 1. Okay. Now, 4 pi on 3. Even I just got confused when I was like, hang on, well, is 3 pi on 2 going to be bigger than 4 pi on 3? You can kind of draw it with all these fractions and stuff. I'd probably just draw it on the unit circle, to be honest. So 3 pi on 2 would put us down here. This angle here is 3 pi on 2. 4 pi on 3, that's 1 pi on 3. It's another, we just want another pi on 3, or 2 pi on 3. 3 pi on 3, and then go another. Now we're at 4 pi on 3. So we're not going to make it all the way over to 3 pi on 2. So we need to split this into thirds. Not this actually, sorry. From pi to 2 pi is from here to here. And so this needs to be split into thirds, and we're going to arrive here. So 1, and then 2/3 there. So this value right here will be, I'm going to put it above so we can actually fit it. And this is going to be our 4 pi on 3. If you don't quite understand that, I can imagine if I was still learning this, I'd be a bit confused by what just happened there. So feel free to draw it out yourself. And I'll draw a fresh one here. Whoa! Look how good that circle was. I'm going to draw a fresh one here. So the angle, if we're counting up in pi on 3s, we need to split pi into 1, 2, 3 pieces, okay? And then we just need to count our way around. 1, 2, 3. And then we need to split this pi into 3 as well. So 1, 1, 2, 3. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we're here. So 4 pi on 3 would be there. This would be 5 pi on 3. So here. That's why it has to go there. And then this would be 6 pi on 3. Anyways, honestly, if you just put it a little bit before the 3 pi on 2, like you can see that this is the angle of 3 pi on 2. 4 pi on 3 is just a little bit short of it. So honestly, if you just put it somewhere a little bit shorter than here, worst case scenario, you put it directly in the middle, it's probably still fine. We're not super strict when marking this. Okay, so that means there, the actual curve is going to hit here, 3 pi on 2. Cos of 3 pi on 2 is 0. So the curve would want to go there, but we only need to graph it until 4 pi on 3. So let's fill it in from over here, just so we can see the trend of it. And then we'll do the negative. But we can fill in this positive side and deal with the situation over here. That's probably the worst curve I've done in my whole life. But it's still good enough. Okay, now, I want to stop when I hit here. So I want to aim for this so I can get the right sort of shape, but then I want to stop just there, okay? Nice. And then I'm going to mark this point in. This 3 pi on 2 is a bit in the way. If I had a rubber that worked, look how thin my rubber is. I need to replace that rubber. If I had a rubber that worked, I would probably rub this 3 pi on 2 out and maybe I'd put it above or something. So you guys can make yours prettier than mine if you want to, but it's not a big deal. I can also just put an arrow, and then I want to label this. We want to label this this coordinate here. And then we'll deal with the pi on 2 over here, the negative pi on 2. But for now, let's deal with this. So the x coordinate is 4 pi on 3. What's the y coordinate going to be? You can use a calculator, but I'll show you the issue with that. So cos of 4 pi on 3. Negative 1 on 2. Ah, okay, I guess there's no issue with that. If it was something like, what would be an issue? Let's just say, if it had been something like this, you have to be careful because then it'll be 0.86 and then you have to round it. So we'd be better off using the exact value table and ending up with the value of, let's put it here, root 3 on 2, and use that as our coordinate here. In this case, the angle we're doing, 4 pi on 3, it just gives us 1 on 2. Oops. Just gives us 1 on 2, which even if you use the decimal form, 0.5 is fine to put here. We'll use negative 1 on 2 because we have a fraction over here, so we'll keep with fractions. Okay, so we kind of got lucky with that. Nice and simple. We don't have to do that in the previous questions because this is it's obvious what the points are. And there's nothing significant about the points in between. Like this would be, the root 3 on 2. This would be the root 2 on 2. This would be the 1 on 2. Obviously, they're all negative. But we don't care about them. They're just all whatever. If our graph had ended, like if our domain told us not to go to negative 3 pi, if it told us to go to here, then we would mark it and we'd work out what point goes there. And so that's what's happened in this case. Nothing significant about anything happening here, but this is the end point where they told us to stop. And so it is important what happens here. And so we just specially mark this coordinate, x comma y, 4 pi on 3, negative 1 on 2. And then like full working, just in case that didn't make sense, we're just working out what is cos of 4 pi on 3. And you just take a second, do some working out on the side, and then you can put that in. Don't need to show your working for that. At this point, that's not what we're marking on. We're marking on the graph, and so you don't need to show too much working for that. You can have it down here as part of your answer. It's just it probably won't have any marks to it. Okay, what we need to do now, that's the positive side done. We've even filled it in. We just need to do the negative side. So remember, I'm going to do another unit circle down here. Negative angles now. So instead of going this way, we have to go this way. And we start at 0, And cos of 0 is 1. That's why that's there. And the next interesting thing that happens is over here. And what is cos? It is the left and right, and that would be 0 here. So we go there, and then we check our domain. Do we need to go over another quarter and have another key point? Do we have like, are we going to stop in the middle here somewhere and need to do a special point, just like we had over here? No, we got lucky. It's only negative pi on 2. And so we're done. We just need to fill in that. That's it. So to clean it up, you'd probably maybe write that a bit smaller or put it up here or something. We don't need this 4 pi on 3 because we marked it there. Yeah, that's it.